So then all of a sudden I can start it, but I have to start it from the front of the vehicle. And two strokes, when you start them, you have to be on the throttle. So how can I be in the car on the throttle while I'm starting it from the outside? So at first I would take like water bottles and I would put a water bottle in there to kind of put it on the throttle a little bit. Now it'll rev to the moon. Then I would kickstart it, let it run a little bit, turn the choke off, run into the vehicle. But you gotta think about what I'm doing there. I'm starting it up, putting the chain onto the hook so it's not swinging around, grabbing the start rod, turning the choke off, put the hood down, put the hood springs on, getting in the vehicle. So it was just a bit insane, but I could test it and see if it worked, right? I had all this stuff to still figure out. So I'm like, all right, let's just give it a shot. So I took it over to Race Rods again in Spring Valley, and he's got a sweet facility, and there's a little bit of concrete there where you can drive around like and do U-turns essentially. And so I'm like, all right, let's try it. And I had the exhaust pointed up in the air. I'm like, this isn't gonna work, this is gonna be a disaster. Like, this better be horrible. So I go over there and I start it, it starts. I leave the chain dangling, I throw the hook. I had no hood on it at the time. I jump in it and I drive it and it works. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, how is this possible? And so I'm doing donuts and I have this ear-to-ear grin, right? And I go and talk to Lance, who's an amazing car builder. He's taught me most of what I know about fabrication and cars. And I'm just like, it works. He's like, what? I'm like, it works. He's like, holy crap. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do now. And so basically that sent me back to like, all right, it's not gonna be practical ever. It's never gonna be practical, but it works and it's kind of fun. So let's make it a little more practical. So I did a few other things. I cut and reclocked the exhaust.
All right. She's been sliced. That's how she's supposed to go. Bink. But now she's going to go like this. Blah. Like that. Ish. Something like that. So yeah. Should be interesting. Wasn't even that bad. I thought a bunch of goo would come out of it, but...
At first, I didn't know if I could do that, so what I did was I ran a heater hose from the header, basically did a U-turn and went down where I had the silencer mounted inside the engine bay. But that didn't work for obvious reasons. I mean, it worked, but the heater hose, I'm like, this isn't going to work long term. Once it overheats, it's going to melt the hose. So basically, I was like, all right, I got to cut this pipe, reclock it. And then that presented a new problem because now instead of having the exhaust silencer pointed down and under the car, I had it inside the engine bay. So I had to cut a port on the side of the hood, put the silencer right to that port so I could still open and close the hood, but I had to like have a hole for the exhaust to go out. So I went out the passenger side, I cut the hole, I took license plates, because I kind of like that, a rat rod kind of style fabrication, and I made some guides, like some angled pieces to catch the exhaust as it's coming out and guide it out of the hole and kind of get it a little further from the vehicle. Unburned two-stroke oil will spit from two strokes sometimes. So it'll spit oil and I don't want my passenger to be, eating oil and smoke the whole time. And so then I'm like, well, the throttle problem. So I need to be able to start this from the engine side and be able to modulate the throttle. So what I was like, okay, how do I do this? I look around at the parts I have in my shop. I've got a bunch of bicycle parts. I've got some old BMX brake levers, and they're small. They're just for like 2 fingers. And I'm like, I've got this engine cradle, and I've got some reinforcements on the engine cradle. And I was like, hey, this is about the size of a BMX handlebar. Why don't I just put the BMX handlebar brake on that and then run a secondary wire pull to my throttle pedal so I can engage the throttle with 2 different wires. So that worked like a champ. So I have a throttle modulator from the inside of the engine bay, and I basically take a zip tie and I leave it loose so it just pulls on the throttle just a little bit. And so I'll put the zip tie over the throttle, it holds it a tiny bit open. I kickstart the engine, I pull the zip tie off, I can modulate the throttle until the engine's warmed up. Turn off the choke. It's sitting there idling. I close the hood, get in the vehicle. It's not a drag race. I don't have to worry about running back and forth and getting everything put away just in time. So that was a great solution. And then from there, it was like, all right, cooling system seems to be working, but it's still kind of running warm. So I took a fan from for a Chevy or like a normal road vehicle, an electric radiator fan, like aftermarket, and I wired that into the system. And then from there, I had to put a kill switch in there so I could turn it on and off. The factory lights were in really rough shape, so I ended up having to rebuild each one of those individual turn signals. I added some trailer marker lights just for running lights, for additional running light. The actual headlight bezels, buckets, whatever you want to call them, were like a plastic material, and they were in really rough shape, and the actual bezels themselves were rusted. Not horrible, but they were incomplete. I didn't have all the pieces I needed, and I couldn't get the factory headlights. And so I was looking for a while for that, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do here. So what I decided to go with was to make some sort of running lights out of the headlights, mainly for aesthetics, but also for, I'm not going to drive this at night too much. So what I did was I found some amber lenses from some older, like 4-inch secondary lights, and I took the amber lenses out. I put them in the buckets for the headlights, and then I put a LED light inside of that, covered it with screen so that they wouldn't get pelted with rocks and break. Kind of assembled this little piece, and they're all amber, and I put those in, and so boom, it had headlights in the headlight holes, and when I turned on a switch, it had amber lights that would glow, so it kind of looked cool. But my blinkers, I had a universal switch I got off Amazon, and I hooked in all the blinkers and normal running lights, got a headlight switch and ran in the running lights through that. And so that was all working fine. I plan to get some different headlights at a different time and add those into the circuit, so I just left that part of the switch open for headlights. And then I ended up using some, I had a Kawasaki that was a shaft drive engine that actually my friend gave it to me, and he said, hey, this is a shaft drive engine, I think it'll work for you. I've got no headers, the shaft drive output is actually taken apart, so but it runs. It was taken apart from a running motorcycle, so it's a 4-cylinder 750. Why don't you take that, see if you can work with it? It's just in my garage. And so I got that, and they came with some turn signals, so I pulled off the amber lenses, and they were really bright, so I put some clear lenses on them. And then I had another KC little single light that I got at the swap meet, put all those together, wired it into the switch, and I had enough light for how fast this car is. So I'm happy with that, and that's what I'm working with for now. Another heartbreaking moment with that was once I got the shaft reassembled, I realized it's turning the wrong direction. The drive shaft has to turn counterclockwise. So the shaft drive on that Kawasaki turned clockwise. And so I was like, damn it, because I wanted to use that to replace the dirt bike engine because it was electric start, had a lot more power, was not 2-stroke. So I was kind of like, okay, this isn't ideal, but it's free and it's a shaft drive, maybe this will work out. So I went with it and didn't work. While that was going on, I was still running the 250 in this, and just the vibration was out of control. So what I did was I bought some rubber material, some rubber sheeting, and I took everything apart and coated everything with rubber, the front clip, the engine mounts, all the cross member stuff I made, just basically everything, put a layer of rubber on everything. I was able to dampen this vibration pretty solidly. It still vibrates a lot, but I think that's the nature of the older 2-stroke bikes. The wheels, so the wheels needed restoration. They were super rotted and rusted, so there was a few areas where I actually had to use some JB weld to build material back up so that would actually seal again. But yeah, it was really rotted out and just, crazy barnacles on the inside of the wheels. They definitely had water inside of them for a very long time. Jack, before I bought it, put on a brand new set of General grabbers, and they're in great condition. They're basically brand new still, and I keep it inside so it's not getting any sun damage or dry rot. But yeah, so I'm looking there, I'm like, I really love the 2-stroke, and I love the kickstart thing, and all of the other stuff I've made work. Really makes it an eye catcher when I take it to like Cars and Coffee or go to the desert. I always end up with a crowd around me, and people just want to see how it all works, and they'll all shake their heads and laugh at me or laugh with me. But yeah, it's a total, Frankenstein. You shouldn't be able to make that work build, and I was able to make it work. And I just really thrive on this kind of stuff because I'm a creative dude. So any chance where I can be creative, I just jump all over it. But yeah, so now I was like, okay, I need a trailer. So I've been flat towing it, which my 4Runner does fine with flat towing it, but if I have a problem with this machine in the desert, I can't flat tow it home. So, and you got to pull the axles or the drive shafts to flat tow it all the time because you don't want everything turning while it's on the road. So that becomes to be a pain in the butt, taking the drive shafts out, putting the drive shafts back in every time you're leaving or going to the desert. So I got a boat trailer for free from a guy who just needed to get rid of the boat. Took the trailer, 20-foot single axle boat trailer, and in pretty worn out condition. Boat trailers are in the water a lot, so they get pretty bad, but it was good enough platform for me to build off of. And so I got rid of the boat. It was kind of a pain in the butt. No one wants a boat without a trailer, so found a guy who used to build boats in Alaska. Older guy, retired, down in Chula Vista, and we unloaded the boat into his driveway and then built like a wooden stand for it and pulled it off the trailer. And he was really good at it. He knew exactly what he was doing. He had the skill saw and the drill, and he was just like making it as we're unloading the boat. He was like sizing it and putting it together. So he was happy there. I ended up taking that and rebuilding that, which will be a whole nother series of videos that I've been filming. That's been a fun process. Look for that once this series is finished. That trailer little series will be out, or maybe simultaneously, I'm not sure yet. But anyway, so while I'm looking for the boat trailer, I found a free jet ski and trailer.
You're probably asking yourself, Beau, what's that thing following you? I don't know, but it looks like a piece of shit, doesn't it?
And so I was like, it's free, and it comes with a trailer and a jet ski. I'm like, one of these is going to be usable. So I ended up going down to talk to this guy, and the trailer was cool. It was like a 4x7 with a torsion beam axle. The wheels were wobbly, and I don't know why that was. I think it was the tires, but I never really got into it. But anyways, the jet ski was a mid-90s Kawasaki ZXI 900 triple carb 3-cylinder 2-stroke, which has like 106 horsepower. And I was like, well, how's that engine? This is kind of cool. So I was like looking at it before I went down there. But then I went down there and I saw the jet ski was just haggard. Like, it was just haggard. Every piece of non-fiberglass on that thing was worn out, torn, seat, like everything was jacked. So I was like, all right, this thing's kind of unsalvageable. Like, I could just go buy a new jet ski for the work that it would take to fix this one. And so I'm like, well, I'll at least take the engine. So I look inside and the engine is like pristine. Like, it is pristine. I'm like, okay, someone got this, used it twice, parked it on the side of their house, and then just never used it. And so I was like, all right, this doesn't make any sense. So anyway, so I pulled the engine out. That's what's sitting behind me over here on the stand. And I'm going, all right, well, I sold the trailer for a couple $100. So that whole deal paid for itself. And then I got this engine. I scrapped the ski hull as well. And so I got this engine. I'm like, all right, what can I do with this thing? This is cool. But jet skis, they got no transmission. They don't shift whatsoever. But they have no clutch either. So it's just basically just an engine that runs. And so I'm like, well, I can't really use this for anything. So I started doing research, and there's other people that have used CVTs and hook up a CVT belt transmission, progressive, whatever you want to call it. And so that was a possibility. But all the ones that I was finding were small. They're for like go-karts. And so I'm like, this isn't really going to work. So I'm looking at the old totally jacked up factory engine that I have, and I'm like, well, hey, that's got a pressure plate and a clutch and a flywheel, and it's just bolted to the crank. What's stopping me from pulling that assembly off, bolting it to this output shaft, and then running the factory transmission, which is still good, which I also have multiples of? So I'm like, hey, maybe that'll work. So I'm like, is it possible? So I go into some groups on Facebook. 2-stroke development group was the main one where I found it out, and I posted some pictures of this, and everyone loved the 250 conversion, and they were all into that. And so I'm trying to find out about the jet ski, and there's a guy who did it in a little K truck, one of those little tiny little Daihatsu whatever, and he did the same thing. He took a bell housing, chopped it, took the flywheel, took the pressure plate in the clutch, made it work. But he kind of did it like it was long, like he had a lot of length to work with, so he used the output shaft and then the shaft from the pump impeller, which I gave that away. So all I have is the output shaft on this, and I have only a limited amount of space to work with. And so I'm going like, all right, this seems like it's gonna be the right thing. It seems to me my brain's wrapping around it after doing this insane swap and dealing with all the little speed bumps and making it work. I'm like, hey, this seems logical. Electric start, 100 horsepower, still a 2-stroke, sounds amazing, screams like crazy.
All right, so got everything rigged up again on the stand. Wiring is still a rat's nest. Got the cables all hooked up, battery all hooked up, fuel in there. I squirted fuel inside each cylinder. Got the ignition on, so I think it might fire right now, so I'm gonna film just in case. We'll see what happens. Maybe it'll explode, who knows. Oh, that was fucking loud. Yeah.
The only thing that could probably set me back on this would be like, can it handle the load? Because it's used to just spinning a prop in water, which is not much load. So I'm kind of confident it will. Maybe it won't have the same horsepower rating on land that it does on the water, but I'm gonna give it a shot. So that's the next thing for this. So right now I'm doing this series. The 250 is still running. I'm gonna use it a little bit more, but I've been developing this on the side. And so this is really where we're gonna go with the series. So once I get to the point where everybody knows the story of where this has come from and where it stands, then we can dig into, all right, now we're pushing in this direction. And so that's forthcoming. So I'm really excited about that. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next segment.